morning, everybody. It's a little bit cloudy looking. It looks like it might rain, so I thought it might be fun if we had a game that we could do inside, like a scavenger hunt. Now, for this scavenger hunt, we're going to go looking for different types of shapes. But we're not going to just look for circles and triangles. We're going to see if we can find shapes that are two-dimensional and shapes that are three-dimensional. Now, what does it mean if something's two-dimensional or three-dimensional? That's what we're going to find out so you can go on a scavenger hunt. Now, I'm going to start with these. Do you know what shape this is? It's round and round and round and has no corners. It's a circle. Do you know what shape this is? It has 1, 2, 3 sides and 1, 2, 3 corners. It's a triangle. Do you know what shape this is? It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides and 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. But they're not all the same. Too long, too short. It's a rectangle. Do you know what shape this is? It also has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides and 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. But these sides are all the same. It's a square. Now these shapes are flat. You see this? Look, they're just paper. These shapes, these pictures are all considered two-dimensional. Now I'm going to show you how. If you have a ruler, ta-da, you can use your ruler to help you figure it out. If something is two-dimensional, then there are two ways you can measure it. I can measure how wide it is, and I can measure how high it is. How wide, how high. I just measured it two ways, but I can't measure it any other way because look, it's flat. Now look at my rectangle. In order to know the difference between my rectangle and my square, you see the difference between these two? I can measure it. Now look, my square, how wide, how high. My rectangle, how wide, how high. I just measured it two ways. Now my square, when I measure it how wide, is 3 inches. When I measure how high, it's 3 inches. 1, 2, 3 inches. Now when I measure my rectangle, when I measure how wide, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. When I measure my rectangle how high, it's 1, 2, 3 inches. So I just measured these two shapes two different ways. But I have a mug. Do you guys ever like to drink out of a mug? Maybe some tea, maybe hot chocolate, maybe some of your grown-ups like to drink coffee. Well, here's my mug. I like to drink hot chocolate and I like to drink tea. And sometimes I like to put soup inside and I can just drink my soup. Now look, what shape is this? It's round and around and around, and it has no corners, it has no sides. It looks like my circle. But guess what? My mug is not a circle because I can measure it not 1, not 2, but 3 ways. This is not a flat shape like my circle here. This is not two-dimensional. It's three-dimensional. Now look, I'm going to show you with my ruler. I can measure how wide, I can measure how high, but I can also measure how deep, how much stuff I can put inside it. Now, I can't put anything inside my circle because it's flat. It's so flat. It's two-dimensional. But a mug, I can fill up with something. So this shape is not two-dimensional. It's three-dimensional. Now, because it's not two-dimensional, it has its own name. I don't call this a circle. This is not a circle. This shape is actually called a cylinder. A cylinder is a three-dimensional shape that looks like it has a circle on the top, looks like it has a circle on the bottom, but it's super long and you can fill it up. Let's look again. I can measure it. How wide? It's 4 inches. I can measure how high? It's 4 inches. But I can also measure how much stuff I can put inside, how deep it is. It's another 4 inches. I just measured this mug 3 ways. This is a three-dimensional shape. This is a two-dimensional circle. Three-dimensional cylinder, two-dimensional circle. Now I have lots of three-dimensional shapes all around my house that I might not even have known. Like this. This is a can. This can looks an awful lot like my mug. And that's because it's the same kind of shape. It's a three-dimensional cylinder. It looks like a circle on both sides, but then look how long it is. This is a cylinder. Cylinders can roll. Because they don't have sides like squares, they can roll. But they're long and they fit stuff inside of it. Here's another cylinder I have. Look, circle, circle. But when you put it together and how long it is, measuring it a third way, it's now not a circle anymore. It is now a cylinder. You have so many cylinders in your house. If you have Play-Doh, guess what? How wide, how high, but also you can measure how much stuff fits inside. See? It's three-dimensional. You cannot put anything inside a two-dimensional object. Something that's two-dimensional is just a picture. It's just a picture. But something that's three-dimensional, you can put something inside of it. It's so cool. Now I wonder how many cylinders you have in your house. Maybe you can find them and count. Earlier this week we were working on counting to 10. But I know some of you, many of you, can count past 10. Maybe you can find 10 cylinders. And it doesn't all have to be from your kitchen. I got this from my kitchen. And it can also be from your playroom, your bedroom, wherever you would like. Where do you have cylinders? But if you don't have a lot of cylinders, there's other three-dimensional shapes, like this that I was just tossing in and out of my Play-Doh container. Now I used Play-Doh to make another three-dimensional shape. I took my Play-Doh and I rolled it and I rolled it and I rolled it like this. And as I was rolling it, it turned into a ball. Now a ball is like a circle. It's similar because it's round and it doesn't have corners. It rolls. But is this a picture? Is it flat? No. So we now know that this is not a two-dimensional shape. I can measure how wide my ball is. I can measure how tall my ball is. But I can also measure how deep, how far back my ball is. It's three-dimensional. And when it becomes three-dimensional, I don't call it a circle anymore. I call it a sphere. Have you ever heard of a sphere? The Earth is a sphere. The globe is a sphere. It's a big round ball. It's a sphere. This is a sphere. It rolls. You play ball with it. You can catch it, but it's not two-dimensional. This is a three-dimensional shape. So now we know that we can find spheres on our scavenger hunt. We can find cylinders on our scavenger hunt. There's more that we can find too, though. Oh my goodness, like this one. Wait a minute. Is this three-dimensional? No, it's two-dimensional. But do you remember what this is called? A square. Let me put my Play-Doh down. A square. Now, I have a three-dimensional shape that is made up of a bunch of squares. Now look how tiny it is. Have you ever seen this before? It's a dice. You use it for a lot of games, and it has dots on it that make numbers, like this one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a dice. It's a bunch of squares that come together to make a cube. Have you heard the word cube before? I'm sure you have, because of ice cubes. An ice cube is a three-dimensional shape. This dice is a cube. It's a three-dimensional shape. It's so tiny, but look, I can measure how wide it is. I can measure how high it is. And I can measure how deep it is, how far back. If I could cut open my dice and put a little thing inside because it's three-dimensional. Look at that. So you can look for cylinders, you can look for spheres, and you can look for cubes on your scavenger hunt. But there's something else you can look for too. I'm going to show you one more three-dimensional shape. A box. Look at that. Now, does this look like it's made up of a bunch of squares? No, because look, squares are all the same length. This is long, this is short. This is long, this is short. Which shape is made up of two long sides and two short sides? My rectangle. My rectangle. This is similar to a rectangle, but it's not just one rectangle. It's a lot of rectangles that come together to make something that I can put something inside. This is not empty. This is not flat like this one. This is three-dimensional. There's something inside it. I can measure how wide it is. I can measure how high it is. I can also measure how deep it is. This shape is three-dimensional. So you can find cylinders, you can find spheres and cubes, and you can also find a rectangular prism. When you have a shape like this, it's called a prism, a rectangular prism. Now, of course, there's lots of other shapes. Like, what do you put your ice cream on? An ice cream cone. A cone is a three-dimensional shape. There's lots of three-dimensional things out there. You are three-dimensional. Inside your body, you have bones and organs. You're not flat. You've got stuff inside you. You are three-dimensional. But a picture of you, a picture of a person like this is flat. This little child on this cover is flat. He is two-dimensional, but you are three-dimensional. So what you can do today is you can go on a scavenger hunt and you can find shapes that are two-dimensional and make a pile of two-dimensional. And you can find shapes that are three-dimensional and make a pile that's three-dimensional. And see how many you can find, especially of the three-dimensional. I bet you're going to find a lot of three-dimensional shapes in your house. Now, one important rule of a scavenger hunt, though, is after you collect all your things and you count them, you have to remember to put them away. Okay? So when I'm done, I'm going to go put this back inside the pantry, and I'm going to put this back inside the cabinet. I'm not going to leave a mess, okay? So after your scavenger hunt, remember, it's so super important to put things back where you find them. It's almost like another game to remember, where did I get this cylinder from? Okay? After you play, make sure you clean up. I hope you have fun, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.